World Conflict 2, often known as the Second World War, was a worldwide war waged between 1939 and 1945 that encompassed most of the world's countries, including all of the major powers. It was the most extensive conflict in history and directly affected more than 100 million people from over 30 nations. The main players committed their entire economic, industrial, and scientific capacities behind the war effort, blurring the line between civilian and military resources. The war in Europe started with German aggression against Poland, culminating in the invasion of most of Europe by Nazi Germany. The war in the Pacific started with the Japanese assault on Pearl Harbor and the ensuing invasions of most of East Asia and the Pacific. In all, more than 50 million people are believed to have been killed in the conflict. A. Background of World War II. World War II was a worldwide battle that lasted from 1939 to 1945, involving the majority of the world's countries. It was the most extensive conflict in history and directly affected more than 100 million people from over 30 nations. The conflict brought together all the world's economic giants, which formed two opposing alliances, the Allies and the Axis. It was the most extensive conflict in history and directly affected more than 100 million people from over 30 nations. The conflict started with the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany on September 1, 1939, and concluded with the surrender of Japan on September 2, 1945. Its ramifications were severe, impacting the social, political, and economic systems of the nations involved. The war and its immediate aftermath began a period of extreme social upheaval, in which the governments of Europe and Asia were changed or rebuilt. World War II is usually believed to have started with the German invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939. This action was followed by a declaration of war by the United Kingdom and France against Germany on September 3, 1939. Shortly afterwards, the Soviet Union attacked eastern Poland on September 17, 1939. After the German invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, the United States joined the war in December 1941. The war in the Pacific started with the SP. Overview of major events. 1. 1939, Germany invades Poland, beginning World War II in Europe. 2. 1940, Germany invades France, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark. The Battle of Britain starts. 1941, Japan bombs Pearl Harbor and Hong Kong, drawing the United States and Britain into the war. Germany invades the Soviet Union. 4. 1942, Japan continues its advance, capturing control of the Philippines, Guam, and most of the Pacific. The Allies begin their first onslaught against the Axis forces in North Africa. 1943, the Allies establish authority in North Africa and attack Italy. The Soviets launch a strong counter-offensive against the Germans in Stalingrad. 6. 1944, the Allies commence the D-Day invasion of Normandy as the Soviets continue their onslaught against the Germans in Eastern Europe. 7. 1945, the Allies continue their march in Europe and the Pacific. The atomic bombs are dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Germany surrenders, and Japan follows suit. 2 Causes of World War II. 1. The Treaty of Versailles. The harsh peace conditions imposed on Germany at the conclusion of World War I led to bitterness and created economic and political instability across Europe. 2. Aggressive German foreign strategy. After 1933, German leader Adolf Hitler adopted a foreign policy meant to expand German territory and remove perceived challenges presented by the European nations. 3. The emergence of fascism. The rise of fascism in Italy and Japan, along with Germany's aggressive foreign policy, produced a tense climate in Europe and Asia. 4. The appeasement policy of Great Britain and France. In an attempt to avert another catastrophic conflict, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain and French Prime Minister Édouard Daladier implemented a policy of appeasement towards Hitler and Mussolini in the 1930s. 5. The invasion of Poland. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland, thereby initiating World War II. 3 Major events of World War II. A. Invasion of Poland. The invasion of Poland, also known as the September Conflict or the 1939 Defensive War in Poland, was a military campaign that commenced on September 1, 1939, when the German army invaded Poland, followed by the Soviet Union's invasion of Poland on September 17, 1939. The battle finished on October 6, 1939, with Germany and the Soviet Union splitting and annexing the territory of Poland. The invasion signaled the beginning of World War II in Europe. B. Battle of Britain. The Battle of Britain was a significant air battle conducted over southern England in the summer and fall of 1940 between the air forces of Nazi Germany and the United Kingdom. The fight was fought principally by the Royal Air Force, RAF, against the German Luftwaffe, with the objective of stopping Germany from establishing air control over the British Isles. The conflict was the first significant campaign to be fought exclusively by air forces and is generally considered the first major military campaign undertaken by Britain alone against a major nation since the Napoleonic Wars. Attack on Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, the Imperial Japanese Navy launched a surprise assault on the United States Naval Station at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The raid resulted in the loss of 4 U.S. Navy battleships and the damage of 4 more. More than 2,400 American personnel and civilians were killed in the assault, and more than 1,000 were injured. The assault spurred the United States to join World War II. The Allied invasion of Normandy. The Allied assault on Normandy, often known as D-Day, was the greatest amphibious invasion in history and signaled the beginning of the end of World War II. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces led by the United States, Britain, and Canada invaded German-occupied France by landing on 5 beaches along the English Channel. More than 156,000 Allied troops arrived on the beaches, backed by 7,000 ships and 11,000 aircraft. The Allied troops experienced stiff German opposition, but they were able to break past the German barriers and begin the liberation of Europe. The invasion of Normandy represented a turning point in the war, and within 11 months, the Allies had freed Europe from Nazi rule. E. Atomic bombs. One little boy dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. 2 fat men dropped on Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. 4 Outcome of World War II. The conclusion of World War II was the defeat of the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the Allied powers' triumph. The Allies also founded the United Nations, which in turn established the International Criminal Court. After the war, Europe was split into 2 blocks, the Western Bloc, headed by the United States, and the Eastern Bloc, led by the Soviet Union. The atomic bombs unleashed on Hiroshima and Nagasaki expedited the conclusion of the war and changed the worldwide security architecture of the post-war period. A. Death and destruction. World War II saw unprecedented levels of death and devastation. Over 60 million individuals lost their lives in the conflict, including both military troops and civilians. Tens of millions of people were murdered in air raids, bombings, and ground warfare. Cities were devastated, including London, Dresden, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki. The Holocaust took the lives of 6 million Jews and millions of other victims. The atomic bomb unleashed on Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed an estimated 140,000 people instantaneously. War crimes were perpetrated on a huge scale, resulting in the Nuremberg and Tokyo tribunals. B. Unconditional surrender of Axis powers. The unconditional surrender of the Axis powers was stated in the Potsdam Declaration on July 26, 1945. It was issued by the governments of the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union and signed by President Harry S. Truman, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Premier Joseph Stalin, respectively. The proclamation demands the quick and total surrender of all German troops and the cessation of all aggressive activities against the Allied forces. See Creation of the United Nations. On October 24, 1945, 51 nations agreed on the Charter of the United Nations, forming an international body to protect peace and security and foster international cooperation. The United Nations formally came into being on October 24, 1945, after the charter had been adopted by China, France, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, the United States, and a majority of other signatories. The United Nations played a crucial part in the conclusion of World War II, and its formation is considered a great step towards international collaboration and peace. Conclusion. The end of World War II was commemorated with the signing of the Potsdam Agreement on August 2, 1945, and the formal surrender of Japan on September 2, 1945. This marked the conclusion of the most catastrophic battle in history and led to the foundation of the United Nations, an international body devoted to averting such conflicts in the future. Impact of World War II on the modern world. 1. Increased attention on nuclear weapons and their use. World War II was the first time that nuclear weapons were deployed, opening the door for a focus on nuclear technology and the arms race that followed. 2. The formation of the United Nations. The UN was created in 1945 as a mechanism to foster international cooperation and avert future conflicts. 3. The development of superpowers. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the two dominant world powers, leading to the Cold War. 4. The end of colonialism. World War II weakened the colonial powers, enabling the establishment of sovereign states in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. 5. The expansion of democracy. The conclusion of World War II witnessed the spread of democracy to many nations, notably in Europe. 6. The rise of technology. World War II stimulated technical developments in disciplines such as electronics and computers, leading to the birth of the Internet and other contemporary technologies. 7. The development of global warfare. World War II signaled the beginning of a new age of global struggle as the Cold War and other regional battles erupted throughout the world. 8. The rise of the global economy.